Harris. Turning to the Democratic Party, this is also huge. Struggling to counter President Trump and his agenda, donors reportedly getting pretty fed up. Listen to this. According to the New York Times, quote, some of the country's biggest liberal donors have paused giving, frustrated with what they see as Democrats' lack of vision and worried about retaliation from a vengeful president. Some Democrats say a few of their reliable donors, listen to this, are now openly supporting Mr. Trump or are at least looking to curry favor with him. Laura, that last line, first of all, I'm sure the New York Times love to report that. But, you know, you were at the RNC previously, and to have a Democratic donor now change support to Trump, that's a pretty dramatic change.
It's huge. You almost never see this happen. It's one thing to convince someone to vote for another party, but to have the money come in and these big donors, that is huge. But I think what you're seeing with the Democrats, Kayleigh, is they're rudderless. They have no real leader. They have no rising stars. They have no real message, except it seems the opposite of whatever Donald Trump does. And whenever Donald Trump is there exposing all the rot in our federal government, being transparent with the American people, saving billions of our taxpayer dollars, it's sort of hard to argue against that. So, yeah, they're going to have a really hard time as a party. And just if I may, as the former co-chair of the RNC, one of the things that I noticed at the DNC, I know you guys talked about this when they were voting for their new leadership, they all raised their hands whenever they said, do you feel like misogyny and racism were the reasons Kamala Harris lost? They've learned nothing.
This is before they did the dance, like to the left, which I thought was so apropos. To the point of the rudderless Democrats, it's well said. Here's Harry Enton at CNN making that point I'm sure he also loved to make.
And Donald Trump and the Republican Party has changed the electorate. What do I mean by that? You go back to 2017, 5 points more of the electorate was Democrats than Republicans. You go to 2021 when Joe Biden was starting out, look at that. 6 points more of the electorate was Democrats than Republicans. But look at what's happened in February of 2025. Look at this. Republicans, there are more Republicans in the electorate than there are Democrats. Republican +2. So Donald Trump and the Republicans have remade the electorate. All of a sudden you get a winning recipe whereby you break the normal rules of politics and give Donald Trump that positive net approval rating when he had pretty much a consistently negative one in term number one. As I said at the beginning, he's copying Frank Sinatra, doing it my way.
You know, Bill, that's a pretty cataclysmic shift.
Yeah, indeed it is. I guess $1.5 billion is what you need to think about because that's what Kamala Harris had to spend. And I read the article. It's very good. It's very long. It's very detailed. And they have something that a lot of articles don't have. And that is people giving their names and attaching them to quotes that are in the piece. And these were big money people. A lot of folks out of New York, a lot of folks out of California. I thought it was very well done. I also think it's a clarion call for the Democratic Party. This is those who were giving the money saying that we got to straighten this out. We got to get our ship in order. DOGE expires under current rules in July of 2026.
July 4th.
4 months before the midterms.
Huge. And that's an important point, Harris. People putting their names on their criticisms of their own party to the New York Times.
Yeah. Look, I want to say something about what Laura was talking about in terms of doing the opposite of what Trump is doing. Trump is winning, so that's why they lose. I mean, it's just simple math. Yeah. I mean, if they're going to do the opposite of what is winning right now, not just in the polls and all of that, but when you just take a look at the border, for one example, to go from thousands of people going around the checkpoints, getting around detection services, all of that at the border to a couple hundred a day, and now even below that, that's a deliverable. That's a box checked. And so what would you do? Reopen it and lose again? They're not trying to solve the problems, on the one hand, that they created. Yep. And then they have to solve the problems that will come along just from a country that is growing more.
Emily.
Yeah, and look, to your point, so they blame misogyny and racism on losing the election and then put a white old guy in charge of the DNC. They learned nothing on the outside and they learned nothing on the inside. And the reality is that the deficit became really big. So President Trump shifted the electorate because of the values and ideals he stood for, which reflects American values and basic ones at that, which was safety and economic thriving and autonomy and independence with decisions. But the deficit became really great because the left-wing liberal talking points that skewed the whole Democratic so far extreme. That's where they lost those donors. So recall that, and you know better than I, but so many of the donors that propelled President Trump so much further were small. They were working class Americans. And I'll never forget one of the quotes with someone in Pennsylvania who voted for Clinton and then voted for Biden, and this time around voted for President Trump because he said, clearly it's not working and I need a change. He said, it's about my bank account, the daily existence. So for all of those reasons, absolutely people are putting their name to the notion that what was working before actually never did, and what's working now immediately to the feet running, we've seen results right away.
Yeah, and what was interesting is there were two categories. There were, yes, those currying favor, but there were donors who outright shifted their support to Trump. I mean, that doesn't happen in politics, but it does today.